Grunge became a noun. It seemed a way to pigeonhole a bunch of bands.
Along the way, somebody decided to call it grunge.
What is grunge? Does it involve the flannel shirt?
Hey-o! Welcome everyone. Welcome to the Grunge official episode number 1, I guess. Is this number 1 or is this number 2?
No. The other one's an intro.
That's episode 0.
This episode 0, patient 0. This is the first. I'm breathing heavy. My heart's racing.
Oh my gosh, I'm a little nervous myself. I am your host, guys, Joseph Rose.
And I am Jeremy Wood, your co-host.
Hello, Jerry.
Oh, Jerry. Yeah, I'm Jerry.
No, you can say Jeremy. I'm going to say Jerry.
It's Jerry. We're going to go with Jerry.
We're never going to figure this out. My name is Joseph Rose, and you all can call me Joseph Rose. Thank you. Today, we're going to discuss Soundgarden.
Yes.
I love this band. I feel pretty familiar with this band. I've loved them for a long time. What kind of relationship, if any, do you have with Soundgarden?
I have a small relationship. I remember if we're going to just jump ahead, I remember the Rusty Cage song. And I remember the look of that video was significantly different than Girls, Girls, Girls and things I was used to. And it was the beginning of the shirtless, dirty man in the middle of a field, which I think was a very popular tripe back then.
Let me think back now. Yeah, that's interesting. Was that the beginning of that?
It was that, and Jerry Cantrell did that in the Man in the Box video, I think. But yeah, I think he might have that clothes on. But I remember Chris Cornell.
Well, it's not within this scene, but 91, was it 91 also that Guns N' Roses released the Use Your Illusion albums, and we all certainly should have a memory of the November Rain video featuring a shirtless Slash playing that epic guitar solo as the camera panned all around him as he played in just a dirt-covered landscape with like a small church in the background.
And interspliced with that dude running, just cannonballing into that wedding cake. I will never know why that happened.
Man,
it's raining. Jesus Christ!
Yeah, remind me when we're done to start a Guns N' Roses podcast, because God damn it, there must be Guns N' Roses podcasts out there. Oh, I guess I have not looked. But I'm gonna start one. Fuck that. I mean,
we could do a whole episode on the direction of their videos, and
each video, and
each
of those videos is a crazy clusterfuck of wild, weird shit.
Mm-hmm. But nothing in the world will ever top that guy. That guy's direction. He was cast, employed, and he said, "Just do what you want with the character. Throw yourself into that wedding cake any way you can.
Dive through." Let me explain what we're going to do today. It's slightly different than the plan on paper. So the idea with our podcast, as we mentioned in the introduction, is we have these 4 bands. We're going to follow their timeline of releases in more or less chronological order and cover each album as we go. Soundgarden released their first EP, Screaming Life, in 1987. Later in 87 or perhaps 88, 88. So they released an EP called Screaming Life in 1987. That is their first release. Later, the next year, they released another little EP with some cover songs called Fopp. Later yet, in 1990, actually, May 11th, 1990, 30 years ago today, from the day that we're recording this, they released a compilation of those 2 EPs put together, titled simply Screaming Life, Fopp. They put them together and just sort of released them as one album. So what we're going to cover today is that album, just basically both of those initial releases, Screaming Life and Fopp, and we're going to do them first based on the initial release date of Screaming Life. A little confusing and not usually an issue, but in this unique case, I figure it's the way to get started.
It is definitely the way to kickstart this, but by no means did we plan actually to do this. Was all scheduling. It just sort of happened.
I didn't realize today was the 30th anniversary until an hour and a half ago. I just happened to check. I saw Soundgarden made a post about it saying this was the 30th anniversary, and they had the date, and I was like, well, goddamn, what do you know?
Kismet.
Look
It's
at
beautiful.
that.
This is
it was meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start with a little basic information since this is the very beginning. Soundgarden, according to the Wikipedia, was an American rock band formed in Seattle, of course, in 1984 by singer and rhythm guitarist Chris Cornell, lead guitarist Kim Thayil, and I'm not 100% positive ever of how to pronounce Kim's last name. I've heard Thayil. I've heard a lot of things. Lead guitarist Kim, both of whom were the only members to appear in every incarnation of Soundgarden.
But he had a timeless look, though. That man, he looked the same. I think through the whole run,
more or less. After a certain point, I guess from when Soundgarden got back together, they broke up for a long time, which we'll get to, and reunited in about 2012, I think. And from that point on, he was always wearing a hat. He always had on like a classy kind of little hat. Right. And I don't think back in the day he ever had a hat. He is an older guy by the time they got back together. Maybe he had some hair loss, or he just had a different look. I don't know.
He always had kind eyes, though.
He always rocked the beard. He had a classy kind of look about him. So those two guys were the only ones that stayed in the band. At this time, back in 1987, they were joined by bassist Hiro Yamamoto and drummer Matt Cameron, who became the band's full-time drummer in 1986. And we'll get into the later members, later as they come in, according to the timeline. The first album, Screaming Life, and in this case, Screaming Life Fopp, like we said, was released in 1990, but we're going by the 1987 original release date. Let's see, it was released on Sub Pop, blah, blah, blah. What do we care about as far as the technical history of this album? Do we care?
No, I mean, we don't care. I mean, you're going to hear the youth in this. And also, Sub Pop, that's a huge name. I mean, they were big.
Yeah.
I mean, but let's not go down that rabbit hole, because we still got the tunes to listen to. But like, as soon as I heard Sub Pop, they did 100 different bands. I did none of them off the top of my head I can name.
Yeah. October '87 is when Screaming Life was released by Sub Pop. Soundgarden was kind of the first to do everything. They kind of got to everything first within this scene. They were the first to, put their record out, first to join Sub Pop, etc. We'll see. I did get a little bit, we encourage everybody to send us emails and everything. I'll remind you, our website is thegrungepodcast.com and our email address is thegrungepodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to have you send us some emails and we will read them on the show if they're appropriate and relevant, I guess. Maybe even if they're not.
Have you ever been to Seattle?
I've not.
No. My dad. I'm an army brat. My dad was in the military, and this is just a side. It's just a little aside.
Sure.
A little something. And we lived in Seattle. We lived in Washington Tacoma, Washington, for about a year. And the weather is absolutely miserable. It rains all the time.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
What's really nice about it, though, is that in the background, even you're at a shopping mall. Sears was big. I remember going to Sears. A big blue Sears sign. Turning around, you see Mount Rainier in the background. And seeing it and going to Seattle and seeing the fish market. And they do throw those things hard as fuck.
I've seen some stuff about the fish market.
Terrifying. And they'll let you touch a fish, and I didn't want to touch a fish.
Is it like a big deal? Are people into the fish market?
It's for them. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to be, I was only probably 7 or 8 at the time. But I just remember these guys hurling what looked like 300-pound Volkswagens at each other and catching them with the greatest of ease. What a fantastic place. And the Space Needle is terrifying.
Did you go in?
It's scary, man.
You went up there?
We went up there. We ate there.
Now, what's up there? A restaurant?
It's a restaurant,
Yeah.
and you spin slowly. I didn't vomit, but
It's always slowly
always.
rotating?
My sister loved it. Again, you're going to hear her come up a lot because she was the impetus to me getting into this grunge.
What is this sister's name?
Jennifer. Jennifer.
And she's a couple years younger than you.
2 years younger than me. So
Okay.
she helped me get into this and all that stuff. I completely took her look. Became a poser, but that's later. But
And she was always generally more into the rock stuff and got
Right.
into this scene.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
So she had a figure. She was a pretty girl. Still is.
Oh, okay.
But she never showed it.
I wasn't going to go there.
That's what's good about the grunge era is that like you didn't know with women you didn't know what you were going to get. They didn't
What?
dress like they were sexy. There was nothing to it. You
gotcha.
unwrapped what you unwrapped. It sounds like I'm saying my sister was hot. That's not what I'm saying.
I mean,
but it was
that
part
is
of
the
it all.
impression you've given.
Yeah. Let's kick this off the right way.
Well, I was saying, you guys can email us. We did get some comments on Facebook. Let's see. Braden Frizzell mentioned he's not a huge fan of Ultra Mega OK, but can't get enough of Screaming Life Fopp. That entire album from start to finish is amazing. That was his comment. We got some other comments about Ultra Mega, but we'll save those for when we do Ultra Mega OK. Which is Soundgarden's first official full-length album in 1988. But we're not there yet, so patience.
1988.
Everyone.
God.
We're going to get into the whole album. Here's the deal. We're going to play these albums. This is the plan as it stands right now anyway. We're going to play these albums. We're going to listen right here along with you. But due to the unfortunate rules of the land, we have to be pretty careful with how we navigate this. I'd love to sit back and just kind of jam out to these records and listen along with everybody and, comment here and there where it's appropriate or between songs or whatever. But if we do that, our podcast is likely going to get ripped off the internet due to some sort of unreasonable infraction. So we're going to talk during these songs. We're going to talk over them, and that's just the way it is.
And I think that's the way it was even back then. Music on in the background, a good conversation, and
Yeah.
it's really can you stand what we're talking about? That's the thing here. So yeah, we have to talk. We have to talk through it, and that's I think that's part of it.
Yeah.
That's good.
Now, between me and you, Jerry, as we dig into this album, we have the option. This is not a requirement. I'm not leaning one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
But if either of us or both of us felt the desire to consume cannabis
Yeah.
while we listen to this record, we could. We
Right.
could.
And we could. You can, and you should. What I would like to do is make a small contest. Is that if you can give the minute and the timer mark as to when it started, and name the exact time that somebody consumed weed.
Oh.
And see where it went
This is a
downhill
listener-
or uphill.
This is a listener contest.
This is a listener contest.
Okay, guys.
If you can actually name the time, you will get a replica Soulfly guitar pick.
So are you leaning toward cannabis consumption?
Well, everyone does. But I think that should be the great mystery. No one knows what we look like. No one knows how old we are.
We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Maybe we'll see. We'll get into it. And
But when you start endorsing that type of thing, and it's a good thing to endorse,
Yeah.
you might find yourself getting pigeonholed.
No. Listen, this is not a stoner podcast. But people in the world do occasionally use cannabis.
I know.
And I'm nothing but a man.
You know what's funny
the
about
world.
that? I am definitely an organism on this planet myself. You know what's funny? I work in auto sales, and I won't go too far into it. I had decided that I had got a job. I was a property manager, and I didn't want to be a property manager, but I didn't want to go into car sales. Hear me out. I know this makes no sense for a podcast.
Jerry's telling a tale here. Let's
I'm
go.
going to tell a tale. And I had said, and it was a friend of mine, Jake, who said, like, get this job. And I was like, it's a great job. You'll do what you do. All right. So I will. But I didn't want the job. So I decided to sabotage it. They gave me a drug test and everything.
Oh, boy.
So I was like, okay. I went out. I haven't rolled a blunt in years. It's all been pipes and water bongs and stuff like that. So I rolled a blunt, smoked it, went in to take the test.
By blunt, Jerry, can you help me understand what this is?
Well, it's a cigar paper. It's a cigarillo or a cigar paper Nowadays they sell wraps. I had to tear mine. I had to tear a blunt up. I had to dump the guts.
So you get a cigar.
You get a cigar. You would roll it like a joint. It's a big joint.
Now this is marijuana mixed with the tobacco.
No tobacco. Can't say it was good. It's not good.
Oh,
I didn't spend a lot of money.
So wait,
on my
it is
weed.
not a mix with the tobacco.
No, absolutely not. It's just a big rat.
It's just a giant joint.
It's a giant cigar with weed in it. Not
so
giant,
I'm gonna be honest. As I am a cannabis user, I have never had a blunt. And in fact, I don't even smoke joints or whatever. We don't need.
That's
to
why
get
you
into
have a I radio voice. I was a falsetto at the age of 10, but not anymore.
You were 10.
Yeah, well, it was angelic.
That's the way it
bro.
works.
It was beautiful. I had a beautiful
I did
voice
as well
10.
at age 10.
Nah, not like me. So so I go in, I get in there because I don't want to be a car salesman. I was already a slumlord. I didn't want to go into a lateral move as a car salesman. I do it. I pee in the cup. I leave, and then I go in. I go to my house. I get the phone call. Oh, you got the job. How the fuck did I get the job? I did everything I possibly could on this drug test just to blow it. Now I didn't want to go and just snort a bunch of coke and do it because I can't do that.
Had they already seen the results?
The auto industry does not test for marijuana because they would lose.
Oh yeah,
3/4 of the workforce because you don't have to have a high school.
I don't understand how most places can test for marijuana. I mean, if you're going to make a rule that says we're not going to hire anyone that consumes cannabis, you're going to lose most good people.
Right.
I mean, I'm just saying. A lot of people like some weed.
Oh, everyone does. I mean, now you can't go anywhere with that. It's in gummy bears. Hopefully, it's in the gummy bears when you do it. It's everywhere. And this was a different time. I'm gonna say my age. Okay, I'm just gonna say it.
Okay,
I'm 42 years old.
Wow, that is old.
Thank you.
Holy smokes, Jerry.
You just get it. You millennials don't understand how hard we had it. Just to find it. I had stems and sticks, all that good stuff. But got the job. Now that's what I'm doing. I lost my train of thought. I also hit 10,000 steps
today.
Really? I got a Fitbit.
10,000 steps already?
I got a Fitbit.
It is not even noon.
Yeah, I do a lot of stuff for a lot of people.
Okay.
What was the point of what we were talking about?
I don't know, Jerry.
We will get better at this. Well, neither here nor there.
You decided to tell a story, and I'm in for it. I think I mentioned cannabis, and then you went crazy.
I just told you that no one tests for it. I'm
not going to drug test you. You're welcome.
Thank you.
To be a member of this podcast.
You don't know what it's like to sweat it out in your dream job of starting a podcast, an exclusive club.
Yeah. And just to make sure, I guess my drug test will be, I will offer you drugs occasionally.
Thank you.
And if you take them, I'll know then that you're on drugs.
Right.
And if not, I'll have to question, is he on enough drugs or is he not on enough drugs?
I get a neck tattoo and all. He's on too much drugs.
Well, we've agreed we're going to get matching grunge tattoos for this podcast, right? We need that for the Instagram stories.
I already have my Bart Simpson don't have a cow tattoo ready.
Fuck, maybe we should do like a crazy 90s photo shoot or something. I have Pearl Jam shirts from the 90s. Mm-hmm. I still have a sweet Don't Give Up Pearl Jam shirt that I'm fond of that I traded a girl in high school. The memories are all coming back right now. There's a girl in high school. She was this cute little chick. I'm just going to say her name was Shannon Leonard. I feel like she's probably going to hear this at some point. We don't really talk, but I think we're Facebook acquainted. And I see her on there. And so at this time, whenever this was, early 90s, I had this sweet Guns N' Roses Use Your Illusion era t-shirt. It was sort of tie-dyed almost, but the front was like the yellow-orange for Use Your Illusion 1, and the back was the blue-purple for Use Your Illusion 2. It was like a double-sided wild shirt.
Marketing genius right there.
Shannon, more of your typical, at the time, your sort of alternative girl at the time in high school, she had this sweet white Pearl Jam shirt that said, "Don't Give Up," and on the back it had either the set list or the dates. I think it was from a Pink Pop festival, which was in Europe. And it was great. And I don't know, one of us just came up with the idea, oh man, I love that shirt, let's trade. And we just traded. She brought in that shirt for me and I gave her the Guns N' Roses shirt. And I bet she doesn't have that Guns N' Roses shirt anymore, but I still have the fucking Pearl Jam shirt. But I don't wear it much and never wore it much because it had been washed with whatever other item and got a subtle shade of pink to it. It was a white t-shirt and then became slightly pinkened. And so I felt not 100% confident wearing it.
I don't know. I think back then it'd be a counterculture. It was harder to be counter. Well, was it harder to be counterculture back then? It was easy in your group.
Yeah, I mean, I was a kid. I had hair down to my ass.
You know what that
I
is.
was in high school.
Being a child, it's harder to wear
I was
pink.
all about counterculture.
Yeah, you were good like that. But again, we didn't go to school. You graduated in 2018.
Yeah, right.
We didn't go to school together. But it was hard. It was easier to be a freak back then because you could do it in your environment. Nowadays, you make any type of statement. Is it easier to make a statement? Who knows?
I don't know.
You could have worn the pink shirt, is what I'm saying.
The problem nowadays is everybody makes a statement.
Everyone.
And so it's just noise.
I had a Cradle of Filth shirt that said "Dead Girls Don't Say No," and I thought I was the shit.
Wow.
Cradle of Filth was it's not part of this podcast, though, so we won't talk about it. But that pink shirt and my Dead Girls Don't Say No shirt, they're hand in hand.
Guys, you can all rest assured that we're probably not going to talk too much about Cradle of Filth. And if we do, remind me via email and I will stop immediately.
Never do it again.
Yeah. Don't let me get too far in the weeds on Cradle of Filth.
No, that was a different and dark time for all of us.
Yeah. Well, shall we listen to some Soundgarden?
I think that would be the point of all of this, yes.
All right.
And again, I want to state that Joe's going to be the foremost expert on a lot of these. I'm experiencing this for the
Hey, guys,
very first
never
time.
listen to him when he calls me Joe, just so you know.
Joseph.
saying.
Joseph, God damn it. See, you can
It's
call
fine.
me 2 names. I only got 1.
I'm going to call you Jerry.
All right, I'm on this journey with you guys, so let's enjoy the dulcet tones of Soundgarden.
All right, here we go. We're going to get into Screaming Life, and it will eventually transition into the songs from the Fopp EP. But okay, let's take a journey. Here we go into 1987. The opening track is called Hunted Down.
Love that.
Ominous.
What I like about this is it sounds like something I was trying to learn to play bass as a child, around 10 years old, and this sounded like something I wrote.
I love it. I love riffs. These dudes knew how to fucking make a riff.
It's like all the makings of a song, which is probably the most
Of a song.
of a song.
That is true. There are sounds.
Yeah.
There will be words.
Somebody will talk.
It is a song.
It will be done rhythmically. It might rhyme too. I mean, he didn't have to be refined. He later became one of the foremost voices in rock and roll ever.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't beat this guy's voice.
Yeah.
And to think, at such I don't know how old he was when this was
Young.
released.
He was
Very
young.
I mean, already it's there. Just you can hear it in the background.
Yeah. Yeah, and when Soundgarden first started, Chris was also the drummer. He was playing drums and singing. At this point, on this recording, he wasn't. But in the earliest days of the band, he was the drummer
That is
for a good
verified
while.
Phil Collins, him.
Yeah, I think Chris is, overall, in the context of a recorded catalog, who is a better rock singer than Chris Cornell? I don't know if there's a better singer out there ever.
What a
What a
you're always going to have your
powerhouse.
Freddie Mercury's and stuff like that.
Freddie was
but-
great, but just a full blast rock and roll frontman. He was as powerful as anybody.
and live too. He didn't falter when he was live.
To me, Soundgarden was a little more hit or miss live.
Really?
They weren't
I
the
hear.
best. They were just hit or miss. You can find Soundgarden shows that were incredible and Chris performances that were incredible. But you can certainly find plenty where it wasn't so on the money. Some bands are like that.
Okay.
Nirvana was, I think even I heard Dave Grohl mention once that Nirvana was one of those bands who were 50-50. You were going to hear an amazing, memorable, lifetime great performance, or they were going to be a fucking train wreck.
What I like the most about this song is it just stops.
It's a short one, yeah.
It goes off into that
2.5 minute song.
2.5 minutes, but it just stops.
You do get the taste of what Soundgarden
I'm dead.
could
I'm
be.
Dead. This is a Bauhaus right here. Little Bela Lugosi's dead right here.
And even though we trample all over it with our talking, you could hear, to me, Soundgarden were still flexing a little bit of a Black Sabbath influence. You know, a lot of these bands were sort of related to what the punk scene had become. They were coming from that world, but growing into something else.
Yeah, I mean, in 1987, what was out there that they could draw from? You're looking at like your new wave, your punk, your metal.
Yeah,
it's all coming together. You know, I think there's a song later that I enjoyed. It almost has an INXS type vibe for me, at least.
Yeah,
we'll get into that one.
And Chris is there. Chris's voice is obviously stand out in this. But he's still just figuring it out.
Oh, yeah.
This is the infancy of what would grow into a powerful monster.
And everybody is. And I think the genius of them is that they experimented. This is so aggressive.
It's weird. It's still weird.
It is.
At this point, they were just freaking out a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I love it. And there's a moment where they had sort of like a Phil Anselmo thing, but in reverse. You know, Phil's like, and then like he would do Cemetery Gates. It was like,
yeah.
And but there's a song later where he just goes into full on like Mike Patton from Mike Patton was like, la la la. You're like, oh, that is not your wheelhouse, bro.
Yeah.
But at least it was there.
They were figuring it out.
And can you imagine like in public trying to get your sound? Like they did this. They were happy. I'd be happy too. Shit, I recorded a goddamn.
I mean, people, I wasn't in Seattle in 1987, but from all accounts, it seemed like people were pretty fucking jazzed about Soundgarden. Mm-hmm. And, Sub Pop surely was happy to have them.
And that high bass. Hey, this is a good breakdown. I enjoy this.
Yeah.
Something they did.
They were moody. Like I said, they had a little bit of a Black Sabbath flavor left in there, along with the punky weirdness.
I just can't get over how much he sounds like him, like later in the years now.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't in his teens, early 20s.
Yeah. I mean, when they started this band, there were definitely some teenagers in this band, for sure.
Again, another thing. If you look at the album covers. Another thing, yelling into a mic, long hair, shirtless. It's just a musician thing, you know?
It's timeless.
It is timeless.
Those fucking young dude, like, basement shows or whatever,
as musicians must love that.
Yeah.
I'm not a musician. I always was disgusted by it. No matter how much personality shined through, and these guys had it in spades, but, like, I didn't play an instrument, so you'd be sitting there talking to a girl and everything would be cool. And then this guy would walk in without a shirt on, start playing guitar. She'd look at him, and whatever you were talking about meant shit.
Oh yeah. If 1988 or so era Chris Cornell walked into a room, you're not the center of attention anymore.
I am married with a child, and they would both leave with him.
Yeah, he was rather beautiful. I got to be honest. Chris was pretty beautiful as an older man right up until his unfortunate early demise.
His choice, but it was a good thing. I mean,
but he was a beautiful man.
Yeah, goddamn, singing like an angel. Like, it just somebody gets so much, and then there are some who are just rotund small men who just.
I'm sorry, Jerry. It's okay. Look, everybody loves you just the same.
Yeah, not like that. I won one goddamn Grammy.
I don't even know what Soundgarden's Grammy roundup looks like. I know that they've won, but I don't know. I think I know that, right? I could have just made that up.
I don't know
if they've even won any, but I believe they have. Yeah.
At the time, probably all of these bands weren't really looking for that.
Actually, I think they were nominated really early on, maybe for this or maybe for Ultra Mega. It might have been Ultra Mega OK, their first full album. I think they were nominated for a Grammy. They did not win. But that's a hell of an early nomination.
Yeah, really.
That song was called Entering. This one is called Tears to Forget. Chris is freaking out.
Yeah, you can tell by the driving bass. Like this must have been their thrash song type deal. The pelvic thrust song.
Jerry is thrusting in his chair right now.
It's hard.
We do need to implement a video element to this podcast.
Oh, yeah, you gotta sit there for an hour listening to something. This is it. Oh,
Check it out.
Yeah. You know what though? In my youth, this would have been the song that made me like them.
Oh yeah.
Just to say, I like this more than every other song on there. And by the way, it is the weakest one we've heard so far. I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't. I'm not going to badmouth the band, but I'm not going to say I like it either. This.
Hey, listen, we don't need to like everything. We're here to cover what happened and talk about it.
Right.
It sure as fuck doesn't mean we love all
It
of it.
beats the fuck out of Everclear,
I'm not going to love all of it.
the worst band ever.
Everclear? I
stand
can't
Daddy
say I was ever
gave
a
me
fan.
a name. I dated a girl like them. Neither here nor there. But this would have been the song I said I liked the most because it's probably as aggressive as it gets.
The more aggressive stuff feels cooler to you?
Yeah, at the time when
Gotcha.
I had no self-esteem.
It was helpful in that way?
Oh yeah, you have to make up for a lot of things.
Sure.
So you go with the loudest one. Yeah, you know what
This-
though? I mean, it's fun.
Yeah, I really like it. I mean, I love Soundgarden. Like, I really love Soundgarden. They are in the very tippy top of my favorite music in the world. But these very earliest releases, Screaming Life, Fopp, and to some extent Ultra Mega, are I've listened to those the least. I've heard them, however many times through the years. But Screaming Life, I've probably spent the least amount of time with. Well, both of them, Ultra Mega and Screaming Life. Handful of songs that I really enjoy, but I'm not intimately familiar with those albums the way I am with all the later stuff.
And never was. These weren't ever talked about. I mean, we got to think about when this came out in that '91 era.
Yeah.
And you heard about it, but
I think they were getting some play on like 120 minutes on MTV, but I wasn't there for that.
Oh no! Without the internet, you'd have a really hard time locating these types of things back then.
MTV was your ticket.
All I
That
got,
was your source. That and the radio.
You could go to independent music stores, but then even then, that was an intimidating endeavor. You walk in, you don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah, you're at the mercy of what that dude was into.
Yeah,
you
right.
know.
I worked at a music store. I worked for chain stores, The Wall, Sam Goody, and
Right.
stuff like that. So
Now, this song is a standout on this album for
yeah.
me. Nothing to say. I love this jam. It's moody. It's got a vibe that I dig.
I would like to. This would be a good live,
Yeah.
driving song. You think this guy's singing in an enclosed environment that's not a stadium is beyond me.
Yeah. I love those grimy, slow, sludgy riffs.
Yeah, this is fun.
Soundgarden could have been, over the last few years, I've gotten it way more into sort of doomy, stoner rock type of bands. And there's aspects of that in Soundgarden for sure, especially the earlier days, and Louder Than Love has a good bit of that vibe. They could have been, they would have been the greatest stoner rock band ever. Like, with Chris's voice, like, who can fucking sing like that?
No.
Like, he's not a human. Even back here in 1987 as a young dude, he was hardly getting a handle on that power. Like, he's figuring it out, but you still hear it. You're just, how is he even making these sounds with his face?
This is the greatest face sounds. Yeah, he just, it's astounding, and I wish I appreciated it more in my youth, But if you would say this man's the Whitney Houston of this era.
I would not say that.
But the same amount of power.
But he was fantastic.
Right, he could sing.
For sure.
Whatever Whitney Houston song, and likewise, I could see her too.
And you can imagine how these guys, and particularly Chris, in the midst of whatever that scene looked like in 1987 must have stood out like a sore thumb.
Yeah, even the bands were covering.
Yeah, bands like Mudhoney and the bands that were around at that time, nothing anywhere sounded like Chris Cornell.
Right. And that's what's unique about our thing. I mean, we're talking about this one band, but every lead singer is different. You know, no one sounds like each other. And
they were all pretty diverse.
No one sounds like Lane Staley, and no one ever will sound like this guy. You know.
It's fun to hear those super skillful pieces of this band in their earliest stages.
Oh, yeah, it's like getting an early Da Vinci, things like that, like
Baby Soundgarden.
For that was called Nothing to Say, from what I understand.
Yep.
That was one of the longer songs on this album. So
Maybe so.
A lot to say.
This one is Little Joe. I always loved this song. I remember I had this on cassette. It stood out to me quite a bit.
This is the one I like. That I think had like a new wave type feel to it. And you hear it with the faraway guitar and the bass, and then he goes
a little
into the
sparse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it sounds like Primus almost took a little bit.
Chris's crazy voice definitely stands out.
It still has that mood though.
Yep.
Bass player. Who's the bass player again? I know that.
At this point, it was Hiro Yamamoto.
Yes.
He didn't last too long in the band, but he was there in the early days.
This works.
Oh yeah.
There you go. And drive over here and give me a moment. Your moves.
Like that's awesome.
Yeah, this is great. Like that, it shows a lot of what's that word I'm looking for?
Awesomeness.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, that.
Oh shit! Here he goes.
All right, now do some shit.
I love that. God damn, I love it.
But how much fun is it recording this?
Oh yeah. If I could open my mouth and make the sounds that Chris Cornell could make,
I would fuck around and make
my life
like
would be dramatically different.
Oh my god, yeah. I definitely wouldn't be living in a twin.
My voice is often compared to a young Chris Cornell. By no one in the world.
Right. Have you thought about going into radio? Or singing in a power ballad?
This is as close as it gets.
Yeah, this.
It's wild shit, man.
You know, and I wish we could let this one. This is the one
I know,
time I wish
I know.
we didn't have to talk over it.
Guys, I'm sorry. We do have to talk or else they'll kill our podcast.
He's saying a shitload of things here
I
I want to hear.
I don't know what he's saying.
Right.
I mean, I know what he's saying. I don't know really what this song is about. I haven't attempted to dig into the lyrics.
They should be dissecting this one thing. Just listening to it. I glean nothing from this.
I love... Like, now that I'm listening to it again, it's been a while, I kind of wish we could have kept a little bit of the punky, experimental, wacky fucking Chris and Soundgarden through the years.
Right.
And there were bits. They had different versions of it, but they eventually grew out of this
They're
sort
not
of
as playful.
punky experimentation with the voice and stuff.
You start hearing your own shit for a while. You're like, these guys were critically praised.
Yeah.
You know, and you start believing that after a while. I mean, not saying they sold out or whatever.
I can say that I don't think Soundgarden ever made a bad album. You know, these early albums, I like less, I guess, if I had to put it that way. I like them less than the later stuff. Certainly the middle stuff, Bad Motor Finger, Super Unknown, Down on the Upside. But not bad. Not anywhere in bad territory.
No, I wouldn't turn
like this
off.
is enjoyable shit. What a powerhouse band they were.
Right. Everything you could listen to in a car and not get upset with your spouse about.
Yeah.
Like, turn this shit off, goddammit. You know, you don't hear that with
I
Soundgarden.
actually think, well, I guess we'll hear as this album goes on, I think they might have actually been weirder on the next album, on Ultra Mega. I think they might have been a little generally weirder Maybe. I don't know. I guess that's subjective.
If the name says anything, though. I like Ultra Mega. Okay, I like when something ends like, okay. Ultra Mega.
They were always good for some wacky fucking album titles. Super Unknown,
Yeah.
Down on the Upside, Telephantasm, stuff like that. Like, okay, guys.
Oh, yeah, just throw some shit at
And then the
Ultra
Psalms EP, which we'll get to. Oh my God, the name of that one.
This one. This has a message.
Now I would like
Hand of God is this track.
we should stand there with all other of God's creatures on the curbstone.
I tried to find if this was actually scripture, but I think this is just some guy talking. And it might be a friend of theirs. I don't see this as being from a movie.
Is it a preacher type? What is this?
Again, I brought up the subject. I have no information for you.
Hey guys, if you could Google this for us and just send us a quick little email.
Who the hell's
Thanks.
talking?
Thanks.
I had gotten a lot of stuff from televangelists. They gave you a lot of free stuff with the promise of you giving them thousands of dollars.
Oh,
I
yeah.
got some holy water. I had a poster. I put my hand up. Robert.
You donated some money?
No.
Oh,
You just
okay.
call up.
Gotcha.
A girlfriend told me about this. You can call these guys. They'll send you a bunch of free stuff with the promise of you sending them most of your paycheck. But there was a guy you could put your hand on the TV and you had slick back. God, I used to have his poster hanging up, and it had like a Candyland like tithing thing. Tithing is giving.
Yeah.
Giving money.
I'm aware, Jerry.
All right. Well, we for the listeners out there, tithing is doing the right thing and giving most of your money to a church. So, or 10% of it at least. And he had his hand up. Robert something or the other. You could touch the poster, and every day you could put some rice on it, and it would go down the line. And if you tithed enough, you would be immortal.
The rice was like a marker of what you had given?
I don't know if that was the girl telling me to put the rice on, or some sort of Asian thing, and that's not to say rice is Asian, but that is what it
fucking
is.
dare you?
That
Was this Gene?
No, it was not
okay.
Gene. I don't think we never say the last name of that person, and we shouldn't even talk about that person. I thought we had a good thing going here.
Okay. We almost surely will talk about it at some point.
Yeah, we had to fill 20 seconds, but the
Inside baseball. Sorry, everybody. We will explain. You'll get to know us and our stupid stories,
Right.
and you'll learn about Gene. Gene, if you're listening, I apologize.
she is probably not going to listen.
I'll send this right to her.
Her husband is huge.
Yeah, he
He's
is,
like
right?
7 feet tall.
I don't know him, but I think I've gotten that message. Yeah.
He's a 5'0" one. Neither here nor there. What was I talking about? Oh, yeah.
Soundgarden. We're talking about
Yeah,
Soundgarden.
Well, if
This
you
is a
listen to
cool
this song
album,
long
guys.
enough,
Hand
you'll
of
be
God.
immortal. Another chunky. It gets. You didn't talk. Tile.
I'm gonna, that should be an early mission. How the fuck do we pronounce Kim's last name? Is it Thale?
As the foremost expert
I
on
don't know.
all things grunge, can't stand the term. We should know this shit.
I want to find. That's a weird thing. Like finding the correct pronunciation of things sometimes are difficult.
Right.
Like especially someone's name. It's not like a common word you can look up in the dictionary.
Chris, nobody
Like
says
I want a video of a member of Soundgarden saying his name. Like I want him introducing himself. Like, "Hi, I'm Kim, whatever,"
I'm pretty sure
so
you
that
can
I
get
can
that.
hear it right from his mouth and get it right. Someone, if you can find that video, please help us learn Kim's last name.
This is Kennedy. I want Kennedy from the old MTV to do this. That would be a great
Kennedy.
guest. What a great guest.
Man, I had a little bit of a crush on Kennedy.
She was the first girl I ever knew that looked better in glasses. And
Oh,
I've
she
always
was
had a
cute.
thing for girls in
I
glasses.
always remember. I don't know where this was from.
Dario.
Maybe Rolling Stone magazine, perhaps. They did an article or a feature or something with Kennedy where she was naked riding I believe a donkey. And I was just mesmerized. You didn't see, it was like tastefully done.
The ESPN Sports issue does that.
Yeah, and she was riding, I believe, a donkey.
Okay.
And man, it was just the greatest.
Well, this is, again, before the internet, you see that.
Yeah.
I mean, these little things would make it jump back then. Let's not go there, but you know what I mean?
Wow.
Swimsuit issue.
Hey, Soundgarden, this is still Hand of God. We're
Hand
listening.
of God.
This track is wrapping up. Now, I'm not even, maybe I should pay attention. Let me open up the wiki because we're crossing over from the end of Screaming Life into the Fopp EP proper. So this is Kingdom of Come. was on the Fopp EP. Written by Chris Cornell, this song.
I think this might be the first time we heard a little harmonic. I'd say this is probably the most dancey of them all. I'm actually enjoying this.
Felt almost a tad surfy in the beginning.
Right.
Sort of a slight surf rock.
Not Holly Road yet, but Holiday Road.
It's groovy for sure.
Yeah, good road trip song.
It's fun.
The whimsical part of Soundgarden.
Yeah, it's kind of this is like one of the most playful sounding Soundgarden songs that I can think of.
We can only listen. We're not hearing the lyrics though, so this could be very well about genocide. We have no idea.
Chris, I mean, he wrote some dark shit, man.
Yeah.
He leaned a little dark.
Right, so we're over here just bouncing around, having a great time. Like,
hey man, that's all right.
Yeah.
Don't confuse that for Chris Cornell, guys. That was Jerry singing.
Jerry Wood. Body man. Now we are in the Fopp album, correct? Or are we still in?
This song is on the Fopp EP. Yeah, the track listing is a little different the way they mix it up. But yeah, Kingdom of Come was on the Fopp EP.
What a great name.
Fopp?
All of it.
Well, we'll learn a little more of where that comes from.
I go to my Wikipedia, and
There you
Time
go.
Daily from Cagney and Lacey pops up. I don't know when I looked that up. Turn that off.
Fun. Pretty fun.
And there is that good distortion thing at the end. Marilyn Manson took at the end of every song. Used it at the end.
Soundgarden was big on the feedback for sure.
Yeah.
Kim loved to end a show with some wild ear-piercing distortion.
We're in stereo now.
Swallow My Pride. This is a cover song. Swallow My Pride is a cover song of their fellow underground Seattle sort of scene mates, Mudhoney. A song written by Mark Arm and Steve Turner of Mudhoney. It's like they just covered their friend's song.
Hey,
You know?
Hey, you've been in a couple bands.
Yeah.
Would you be flattered if another
I
band
would
had
think
covered
it was.
your stuff?
I would think it was weird and cool. Yeah, I think it was cool. And I've often wanted to cover another like local band's song. I've never done it, but I've been tempted a couple times. Maybe I'll do it.
Hey, we'll try
I'm
it out.
still
See what- don't even
technically.
ask, just
I'm
do
still
it.
technically in a band. Oh, I would not ask. I wouldn't ask.
I would be upset. Muddy if Chris Cornell
Really? Oh well,
is
sure.
singing like,
Yeah.
like dude.
Okay, asshole. That's
don't-
what it could have sounded like had I been an amazing singer.
Don't try that hard, all right? Just level out. Little southern vibe here.
I gotta say, I was never much of a Mudhoney fan.
No.
I didn't spend a lot of time listening to Mudhoney. I dug into their albums, but never really did it for me.
And you look forward to that type of insightful.
Yeah, guys, if you're here for Mudhoney, I'm sorry.
I'll be on a mini episode.
But having said that, like I said, I'm not super familiar with Mudhoney. They never did it for me. If any of you all are pretty into Mudhoney and would like to hear us listen and react to Mudhoney albums, let us know, and we're more than open to doing that. That would be an example of something that would fit into a bonus episode.
And I think both of us, since I'm not familiar with a lot of this. If both of us weren't familiar with something,
Yeah. And another thing on these bonus episodes, God, I am trampling this song right now, but
We have to.
It's come to mind. So during these bonus episodes that we do, because they won't be in the primary feed, they'll just be.
Nope, we lost it. What did he do at the end of that?
It was over.
Did he
This is Fopp, another cover song, this time from the Ohio Players. A bit of an unexpected cover, perhaps. But the bonus episodes that we do won't be in the regular podcast feed. They will be limited to our patrons over on patreon.com. And for those episodes, we can take the opportunity to let more of the song play without us talking over it.
Director's cut.
Yeah, a bit of a director's cut vibe.
Experimentation. Doing it.
The Ohio Players. Yeah, I was reading a bit about this one. Kim, I think, said that they just heard, they liked the song, thought it had a cool groove to it, and thought they could... Their idea was, let's make it more like AC/DC. Let's just crank up the amps a little bit on it and just, rock it a little bit, see how it goes. It's fun. I could dig this. It's fun to hear Soundgarden just do a playful cover of a song.
Right.
You know?
Well, something with horns.
Yeah. Horns would find their way into Soundgarden later. Yeah, when we discuss Bad Motorfinger, I will express my love for the use of saxophone throughout that album. Unbelievable.
I thought Jerry Rafferty was the last person to use it effectively, and I'm glad to hear that Soundgarden brought it back.
Oh, they fucking...
I think it's as good as Baker Street.
The saxophone on that album really works to define the sound of that album for me. It's really cool.
Bopping all night long, man.
Love this.
I haven't probably Fopp for longer than 15 minutes, and that's a good night.
I'll tell you what, listening to this early stuff is gonna get it much more into my regular rotation. As a result, I'm gonna definitely listen to these albums more.
They belong. They definitely belong in the rotation. Plus, I can say, yeah, I like Soundgarden, but I'm a fan of the earlier stuff, so I can ratchet up the pretentiousness.
Yeah.
All the way up.
Yeah. You always want to be a fan of the early, unpopular stuff.
I'm a big fan of Fopp. I drive a Prius too, and then boom, done.
It's kind of, Soundgarden in that way. Well, a lot of bands in that way. Like that vibe is a thing. Like, oh, the early albums were cool, and then they whatever.
This has a different thing.
Well, I'm saying like a band like Pearl Jam are literally the opposite. Like, there's tons of people that only love 10.
Right, but then you say Vitology.
Well, 10 is, like, by far their most commercial, accessible, successful album. It's sold, tens of millions of albums. And everybody loves that. And you have a large population of people who their favorite Pearl Jam album is 10, right, or they only like 10. And then Pearl Jam changed and whatever. And, when Pearl Jam got into album number 3 and 4... they were just ratcheting up the weird shit.
Yeah, Bugs. I remember we played Bugs at a bar. Yeah, let's not talk about Pearl Jam, but that was a bad situation.
So this is the closing song.
The remix.
This is the Fopp remix. On the original Fopp release, it was labeled as the Fucked Up Heavy Dub Mix. And it is wacky.
This is a remaster, though, right?
A remix.
Remix.
It's just an
This came out on the original Fopp album.
Yes. This is a part of the original Fopp EP.
You gotta put dub into it. That would have thrown me for a loop.
They were getting experimental.
Oh hell yeah! Got a rage thing going for it there.
Working in some squeals. I like it.
Yes. This is a walking into a room. This is playing.
Hell yeah.
There's for some reason the dry ice, lasers.
Sparking up the doob.
The tubes are there.
Any chance to say doob, I'm gonna say.
Waste no time. But now we know what blunts are. And that counts for something.
Yeah, I swear. We need to look that up as well, because I swear it was supposed to be a mix of tobacco.
Men our age.
I'm going to look it up.
Don't look it up right now. Don't do that in front of our listener. Fopp. Oh, Godzilla. This is...
I am looking up what is a blunt.
Well, you're going to get several spliffs.
Oh, here we go. Blunts versus joints versus spliffs. What's the difference?
Right.
On leafly.com. I'm gonna check it out.
Though...
Okay, here we go. Official from Leafly. What is a blunt? A blunt is a roll with cannabis inside a cigar or blunt wrap. These wraps are made out of tobacco, which adds a buzz and energy to your cannabis high. Typically, they're bigger than joints and last a lot longer. So, they do not have tobacco inside, but the wrap is tobacco. So it is a mix of tobacco and marijuana.
Technically,
yeah.
But
because of the wrap is tobacco leaves.
Tobacco leaves. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And now they sell them differently. You can get vanilla flavored wraps, flat, grape flavored wraps, and you can go to Wawa for it. There was a time this was not the option.
Yeah.
Now you can go to Wawa and...
But not. There's no marijuana.
Oh no, not in Wawa. Yeah. You know. I mean,
One
Wawa
day,
is
maybe.
the local.
At your local convenience store.
It's coming though. I'm sure there'll be one day. Like I'd like some weed, grape flavored. Please, thank you.
Yes.
And then won't we? As long as I'm wearing a mask, it'll be okay.
Soundgarden went ahead and made this a 6.5 minute song. This dub version. What's that?
I have to go to the fist like a racehorse.
Jesus, Jerry.
Well, there we go. Wow, but I'm gonna wait. I can hold
Go
out.
pee out back behind the garage.
No, wait. It's broad daylight.
Who's looking?
I don't know. There's a guy your neighbor doesn't have a fence and rubber
For
boots. I don't know
the
what
sake
fuck
of encapsulating this in time, we are recording this during the great pandemic of 2020. When people 40 years from now discover this podcast, you'll read about this time when we were all sort of dealing with a global pandemic.
We are 6 feet apart.
Yeah, we're at least a good 6 feet apart, right?
Right, I think
we're
so.
at least 6 feet apart.
Right. Boom. 6. Oh, still.
Nope, we still got 2.5 minutes.
Still Godzilla. Bam.
Well, look, we'll let this.
Yeah, ride out.
Let this ride out.
You go do your thing.
I'll be honest. When I look at a track list, and I see anywhere on there a mix, a version, a remix of any kind, I'm out. I don't fuck with that.
No.
Like, that's a track I would just skip on principle. I might give it a listen, be like, what was this? But really, I don't even want to hear it. And when albums come out, and then at some point later, the band re-releases it or adds another version with bonus tracks,
right.
I really struggle with that.
Well, I think your imports had a lot of that.
Yeah, well, I think I'm an album guy. You know what I mean? I like the album. I know young people today don't consume music primarily in that way. But to me, the construction of a full album from start to finish is a process, and that track list and track order is part of the art. It's part of the
mood,
the presentation.
Yeah.
These guys set it up that way intentionally. This was the experience that they had in mind, and whenever possible, my goal is to absorb an album as close as possible to the way the artist intended it to be.
Right.
So when later on bonus tracks come out, I'm like, well, what are these? Is this a cash grab? Is there another version? You want me to buy another version? Were these songs not good enough to be part of the album?
Well, yeah.
Were they afterthoughts?
In hip hop, this was a consistent issue. You would always get like a remix, and and very rarely were they as good as the original.
Yeah.
Except for the Scenario remix, that was a good one. But rarely do you get that. And I don't know, is it? Primarily, it might be a cash grab.
Could be.
But then you had your bands like Fetus and things
there are
like that.
times when maybe a song was recorded with the rest of the album, which is usually the case, I think.
Right.
And maybe it just didn't quite fit.
Right.
Maybe this was the oddball. It threw off the flow of the album. But they'd still like you to hear that song. And that's fair. That's fair. But I like the crafting of one piece from start to finish. And you sort of stick with that. So we're wrapping up this dub version right here. We're out.
With Godzilla? No. Oh.
We're done.
That was perfect for a Godzilla.
That was
Godzilla
that.
sound
That was
effect.
the Screaming Life Fopp album. What do you think, Jerry?
I thought that was you know what? I would not have looked at that. The album cover was generic. Everything about it screamed.
I don't want to say generic.
Well, no, for what it was.
I hear you.
I dealt with them all the time. Again, working in the music stores and all that stuff. I would not have looked down and said, this is something I would listen to or bring other people to listen to. My mind has been changed. And this won't be the case for every album we listen to. But this works. I mean, this is at their entry level, they're better than most people's peak. And I think that
it was cool.
That says a lot.
Yeah, I'm going to definitely spend more time with this. And I know, we're going to cover Ultra Mega OK coming up. But I'm going to definitely go back and spend some more time with this album and probably Ultra Mega as well.
Track of the album or the EPs. What was your...
Let me...
Mine is Nothing to Say.
Here.
I will say Nothing to Say is good. Because
really Hunted Down is a great song still. They would still play that song and all. Joe. Yeah, Nothing to Say, Little Joe. Mm-hmm. Little Joe was always, for me, a standout. I've always loved that one. That was the one that, when I first got this album as a kid on cassette, Little Joe is the one that stood out to me then. And it still is. It's just an unusual sounding Soundgarden song.
It is. It is. You don't hear it. You don't hear it. It has a very
Chris's wild vocal right up front.
Oh God, it has a very Mr. Bungle type thing going for it there.
Definitely some wackiness happening.
Right. Not yelling my ass is on fire, but we're almost there.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Well, I think we're most of the way through our first official episode.
I can't believe it.
We did it.
We did it.
Jerry, we did it. And guys, listen, let me pull back the curtain once again. We are not stoned.
No, we went through
We
this
did not
sober.
have the cannabis yet.
No.
I thought about it at some point. I was okay.
I just, you have to set that up and reach it, and then you have to rely on your partner to talk every 20 seconds.
Yes, that's the thing. If we were just sitting back, listening to jams passively, okay, well, it'd probably be a little easier.
In no way did this feel rushed. Not to me on my end.
No.
This all comes down to the people at the other end. Who knows what they're going to say? And who really cares? This is a vanity project.
I want people to jump on board and enjoy the podcast with us, but I'm certainly not going to stress out about what people think about it.
No,
I mean, what are you going to do?
Well, you just don't read the comments. Well, you have to read the comments because I'm trying to see fan art.
Fan art. I hope one day we get to a level where there's fan art. I don't know what that fan art would be of.
There's going to be something. There's going to be a reoccurring
just
something.
Pictures of you.
Pictures of me, trying to think of something to say every time.
Just lying, making up facts.
You should. The one we shelved, the one we destroyed, and just let you know, I had said that hip hop started in 1988, and that O.J. Simpson.
Yeah, okay, yeah, we did. We recorded an introduction episode. I guess we can talk about this because why not?
It's gone now.
We recorded an introduction episode that probably you'll never hear. Or you know what? Maybe we'll put that in the Patreon feed.
I think that years down the line when we hit the 1 millionth subscriber.
Yes. Now.
We would put the first one. I went full radio voice. It didn't work. I killed Nicole Brown Simpson 4 years before she needed to die. And it was, these are the things we wanted to edit out.
I just want to make this clear. Hopefully everyone can clearly identify Jerry's voice from mine. So that when the inevitable lawsuits, whatever accounts of slander and whatnot come along, that's all Jerry.
Yeah, we are.
So if any questionable facts are disseminated from this podcast, that's all Jerry.
I am done and ready to go to jail soon. I mean, jail. There's nothing I can say that's going to put me in jail, just incriminate me. But I think my reputation's pretty much dead, and I'm cool with that. So you go to what was it actually? Grunge podcast dot
the grunge podcast.com.
That's our official email, and
that is a website.
That is a website with an email attached to it.
Hey guys, just to be clear, if you'd like to visit us on the web, the URL is thegrungepodcast.com.
Right.
If you'd like to send us an email, there is a contact form on the website, or you can email us directly at thegrungepodcast@gmail.com. Please do visit our website. However, you will find all the links to our social media and our Patreon, which I urge you to join. If you have the means and if you think there's some value in this podcast for you, it would mean a lot to support the podcast so that we can keep doing this. We have invested quite a bit. I have, and we're going to do our best to keep it rolling.
Right on.
And is that about it, Jerry? What have we got?
I think
that's it, right?
Got it all. Like, share, follow.
Share it. Tell your friends, please. Good Lord, we need people to know that we're doing it.
Right, and I'm gonna take it to. I already got Toyota on board. You got the Blackheart Letter Press. We're gonna take this global, and hopefully you take the ride with us.
All right, we'll talk to everybody soon. Thank you. Don't be a square.